Okay, why tour the Black Pearl? Well, we've had a lot going on. You've seen us towing the Fiat barge, you've seen us head up to Vindovi Island for Fluke's Memorial, and we've had some fun people lately. We just had Nigel Calder down. We're shooting a couple of videos, shore power isolation tech tips and things.
Well, let's back up a little bit, Mike. The grounding connection from the AC shore power.
And it's getting time to bring students down. We just did some work for John Neal on his offshore sailing virtual seminar, and he was on board.
And welcome to the Black Pearl. This is a boat that...
This is not a boat. This is a pirate ship. It's a true pirate ship.
Yes. And so it's time to share the stories of the Black Pearl. She's got a lot of history, and I think our viewers will enjoy another playlist. I know our videos are all over the place, but if you're interested in old boats, this will be one of those segments that you want to keep an eye on. Where to even begin? The Black Pearl's an old Ed Monk Senior design, big and heavy, traditional Northwest cruiser, and that is what we've used her for exclusively between here and Southeast Alaska. Being educators, we can spend a good chunk of time every summer aboard, and of course all the fall and winter working on improving and changing. There's a lot of things that happen. We do a lot of motoring in our area. You can see what's going on here. This flat water, lots of fuel, lots of range, but we don't have great trade winds that blow every afternoon, and we have adverse currents in the inside passage. In fact, we went 96 hours there with water just like this on our way to Southeast Alaska on one of our trips. So come on aboard and follow along and enjoy the stories of the boat.
Future technicians, why the Black Pearl? Well, Black Pearl's got a lot of systems. All of our classes can benefit from this. Rigging class and electronics class and you name it. So we're on a 47-foot Ed Monk design boat. The last 47 fiberglass hull to come out of the molds in Port Townsend. Local connection, and Denny built this from the ground up. So there'll be lots of stories, but let's focus on what technicians need. Electrical students, when you come down for your first exploration, you're going to be finding battery banks. We've got 2 house battery banks. We've got a bow thruster battery and engine start battery. How do we charge them? Alternators, battery chargers, things like that. First year mechanical students are going to be coming down checking this out. What size shaft does it have? What kind of packing does it have? Details about the engine, that kind of stuff. So we're going to start there, but usually the first trip, everybody who comes down here is a little enamored and wants to hear about all the, stuff on the boat, and they think it's awesome because it's so big. It's too big. We have to, 47 foot on deck, we have to pay for a 57-foot slip. But we'll get into steering systems and stuff too. But bronze, one of the things that Denny loved, this is a classic boat, and you'll see it everywhere. He bought bronze everything he could. He's an old tugboat captain, and he was mortified. He started, I think the hull was laid in 1969, mortified in the 70s, later 70s, when they started making everything was chrome-plated pot metal, he said. Wanted nothing to do with that. He wanted traditional boat. In fact, he almost built a wooden boat. He was a good wooden boat enthusiast, not as much on the systems line of things. So I inherited a whole bunch of fun stuff. This is another one of these owner-completed boats that we tell viewers to shy away from. Electricians note half of the wiring's been replaced, but the other half. When Denny built this thing, he got 1,000 feet or 2,000 of number 12 black wire, and he used it for everything: AC, DC, positive, negative, hot, neutrals, the works. So crazy stuff that we've had to sort out through the years. So let's take a quick look down below. It's a nice pilot house, traditional Northwest motor sailor, meaning, it doesn't motor sailors, they say, to do 2 things. They motor and they sail, and they don't do well at either of them. Not necessarily true in this case, because typically sailboats, the auxiliaries, are just that, a small engine to get you in and out of a bay, so they don't make good motor sailors when you put a house on them. This one, however, has 110 horsepower Yanmar down under the floorboards, and so that's good. It makes an excellent motorboat. The sailing is all right, but being 50,000 pounds, she's catch rigged. We need a lot of wind to make this thing sail properly. And of course, then it doesn't have the best cockpit layout. So the interior pilot house stuff is spectacular for our area. The outside is medium. We cruise this boat between my wife and I, and my son was raised in this boat, between here and Southeast Alaska. So really ideal for that. So we'll look at a couple of things inside, and then just stay tuned. We're going to have lots of video segments on this that we can tie into our student learning, and just awesome stories, because after 40 years or whatever, this boat has got stories to tell. Welcome down below. I'm going to share a couple more stories before we get this first round of explorations done. So when you come down into a boat like this, first of all, new technicians, remember, find out if shoes are an option. You may need to wear booties or just take your shoes off. We like that on particular boats. Boat owners like myself are very particular. When you come down, this is where the companionway doors used to be, actually, before the pilot house modification happened. And so one of Denny's great philosophies that I still do, and we've been doing this for 15 years or more, is we go cruising every summer. So when he had this boat built just enough that it would move, he started cruising it. No refrigeration, no heat, nothing. Just a Coleman cooler and some stuff. Because what he learned is when he went out and used the boat, a lot of people spend 20 years building a boat like this, and then they don't realize it's not their perfect boat because they haven't used it. So he would go out to sea. He would go exploring, and because of that, some things got changed. So this is the staircase that comes in, and electricians, you're going to find our electrical system over here. That's where our distribution panels and stuff are. Engines and electrical inside of this doorway right here goes into the engine space, and that's where you've got your DC distribution and your crossovers and stuff like that that the electricians need to find. Of course, mechanical students, we got that Yanmar buried under the floorboards. Well, we'll get into how accessibility on sailboats and how terrible that is. But some things to note is we got a nice little galley off to the port side here, with a diesel stove for heat. We also have a little wood stove for ambiance and for heat. So you're going to learn, like, this boat pretty much has two of everything. I mentioned two house battery banks. We actually have a big lithium battery bank and a big lead battery bank. They're separate, but I like spares, even though we're not offshore cruising. So a little bit crazy there, but you'll see that stuff. And so the staircase, what you're going to find is what's unique. When Denny started using the boat is originally this was vertical, about 4 steps, thought that'd be fine. And as soon as he went out cruising for the first year and realized, like, vertical steps were not the right solution. You could slip off them easy. They just weren't convenient. And so the first thing he did after the first year of cruising is he went to this companionway, tossed that ladder design out, and he pulled the bottom out a number of feet, and he actually cut off the corner of this cabinet a little bit, because when the ladder came out, he wanted to have decent access. And so, and he didn't, and having a sharp corner, he learned, was not a good thing right there by the galley. So then he had an angled staircase, and like that for a number of years. But then he thought, let's jazz it up a little bit, and wouldn't it be elegant to have a spiral staircase as you come into the boat, which works to some degree, except for it went over top of one of the access hatches down into the tank room in the front of the motor. And so the old ladder would lift off. This one's permanent. So there you go. More compromises on the boat. But this bronze right here with this nice knotwork that's part of the staircase, and this one forward over here, those are old propeller shafts. Back in the 70s, they were scrapping out these old boats, and so he's like, oh, cool.
he took some of the old bronze propeller shafting and repurposed it. There's been a lot of things that have been repurposed on this boat. And then I don't know where he got this, or if he had this bent for the spiral, but he built the staircase, which is really cool. And then these stair treads, I asked him, I'm like, Denny, where did you ever find stair treads that matched the rights? And he's like, oh, I built them. So he bought flat bronze plate over in Port Townsend, and from the foundry, I think, or down in Alaska, Copper and Brass in Seattle, cut the shape, and then in the winter, in the big shed where he built this boat, and we'll get some video of that in future episodes, he actually took a little press like we have at school for pressing in bearings and stuff, rebuilding pumps, whatever. And this is a little 1/2-inch square die, and he flipped them upside down. He drew the pattern on there, and he would run that square bit until it just touched the surface, and then it was 3 pumps on the hydraulic press. 1, 2, 3. He would release it, move it, repeat. And so one winter, we have some long winters here. That's when he did all of this knot work. That's when he made all of these stair treads. So this is the 3rd staircase. And this is why I wanted to video this, because I get lots of questions, and I must have told this story 15 or 20 times now or more, plus all the other summer encounters. So now you know the story of the staircase and a little bit about the boat, where you're going to find some of that equipment. And so stay tuned. Lots more stories from the Black Pearl coming up. So along with changing the staircase out 3 times and doing this whole idea of going cruising for a month or 2 every summer, putting away the tools like I do, I have carried on that tradition. We have always temporary, permanent kind of stuff. And not really permanent, but we always have projects happening on the Black Pearl. The back cabin we're redesigning so the aft bunk is center line and not off sides like Ed Monk designed it originally. And we're still rewiring in the engine space. And then up here, these LED lights, you can see, very much were temporary. And this winter, we'll probably make them permanent. We wanted to try out the lights and find out if we like the color spectrum, if we like the installation and the look, if we could have a nice flush mount, light that would fit the theme of the boat, and it did. So we're going to try and brighten it up with some LED lights. So we hung those up so we could use them at night, give them the thumbs up, thumbs down, which they got the thumbs up. So now we'll pull down ceiling tiles and actually mount some lights. So the idea of using a boat, making a list like every boater does of upcoming projects and then things to finish is something that that is always happening here on the Black Pearl. And so stay tuned for lots more fun stuff, technical stuff for students, and just fun stuff for viewers who are boat owners or just want to have some cool boat tours and fun things to look at. So thanks. That wraps up the first Black Pearl video. Stay tuned. At the end of the day, it's kind of nice to wrap up with a little round of cribbage when on board the vessel. Thanks for watching.